was a quiet Tuesday morning when 90-year-old Margaret slowly walked into a downtown bank. Her clothes were old, her shoes were worn, and her hair was thin and white. She carried a small torn bag in one hand and leaned on a wooden cane with the other. The moment she stepped inside, a few of the young employees behind the counter exchanged looks. One of them, a girl named Lisa, whispered to her colleague, "Look at her. She probably doesn't even have $100 in here." They both laughed quietly, thinking no one heard them. But Margaret heard everything. She said nothing. She simply walked up to the counter with a gentle smile and said, "Good morning, dear. I would just like to check my balance, please." Lisa, still smiling from her own joke, typed in the account number written on a small paper Margaret handed her. The smile vanished from her face instantly. Her eyes went wide. She looked up at Margaret, then back at the screen, completely speechless. The balance on that account was not $100. It was not $1,000. It was over $12 million. Lisa's hands began to shake. She called her manager quietly, and within minutes, the branch manager himself was standing in front of Margaret, apologizing with deep respect. But Margaret simply raised her hand softly and said, "No need to say sorry, child. I have been through much worse than this." That one line carried the weight of an entire lifetime. Margaret had grown up during a time when people like her were not even allowed to walk into banks like this one. She had built her wealth not through luck or inheritance, but through decades of hard work, smart decisions, and a spirit that never broke, no matter how many times the world tried to break it. She had quietly donated millions to schools, hospitals, and community centers across the country. She never told anyone. She never asked for recognition. She simply gave because she believed that true wealth was not about how much you had, but about how much you could give to others. That day, the entire bank staff sat down together after work and talked for hours. They talked about how dangerous it is to judge someone by how they look. They talked about the kind of strength that does not shout but simply stands still and lets the truth speak on its own. Lisa personally wrote a letter to Margaret that evening, thanking her not for her money, but for the lesson she taught without even trying. Margaret lived for 3 more years after that day. When she passed away peacefully at the age of 93, the bank staff placed flowers at her door. They all remembered her smile, her calm voice, and the way she taught them that the most powerful people in the world are often the quietest ones in the room. If this story touched your heart and taught you something beautiful about life, then please go and support the voice that shared it with you. Like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Voice. Together, we can spread stories that heal, inspire, and remind us all what it truly means to be human.